All right, off to the bye week. Um, a lot to get accomplished. I think these weeks are really, really important. I mean, for the health of our football team, for the development of our young players, a chance for the coaches to take a deep breath and take a good look at what we've been doing, schematically, personnel wise. Uh, kind of looking, kind of go through it with a fine tooth comb and try and figure out if there's things we can be doing differently or better or do more of one thing or less of another. Kind of take a really good look before we hit this big long run, which would be basically 2 straight months of playing football. So we're kind of in the middle of that right now. We'll practice essentially with the young players. I shouldn't say young players, the players that haven't played as much. They could be young or they could be old. Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Thursday, we'll have everybody back out on the practice field. Friday, we'll get a good lift and run. Saturday, the kids will be off, and then Sunday, we'll work towards Notre Dame. So, should be a fun practice Tuesday and Wednesday with the, basically, I'm sure you all can figure out who will be out there and who won't. The guys that have played a bunch of snaps for the first 4 weeks, they will not be out there. They've got to go get healthy and get feeling better and get ready for the big stretch run. And then the rest of the guys, we've got to get them ready to play because we're going to need them as the season goes on. Questions?
With the offense, have you ever had an offense kind of 4 weeks into the season have this kind of many question marks or be that struggling that much? And with that, what kind of you've mentioned before in interviews like you can't make drastic wholesale changes within the season. How do you take concrete steps to kind of get improvement? And especially now when you have the bye week, what things do you look at as a coach to say, here's some things we can do to kind of get better execution? What are those things that you can do?
Well, I mean, first of all, you shuttled the offensive line around a little bit. You've got to come to some level of understanding of where you think that needs to go. Like what gives you the best chance to be successful? What gives you the best chance to have some depth with what you've got? How does that need to look? You've got to look at, are you asking too much of certain positions and players, or are there things you can tweak to give those guys better chances to have success? What needs more work? What can you build off of that has been good? I mean, just take a really good, thorough look at all of that and move forward. So we've left a lot of plays in the first 4 weeks on the field, a lot of points. And that's not one position or one player or one anything other than, it's pretty obvious watching the film that there have been a lot of missed opportunities for us, and that's on us as coaches to get the execution level at a higher, more consistent basis to take advantage of those opportunities.
You mentioned sort of reviewing how you go about stuff. Do you have a framework of how you sort of self-scout or go back over coaching decisions or plans or how you put players in position? Or do you try to switch that up from year to year?
Sure. Well, I mean, the bye comes at different times. I mean, there's certainly the statistical self-scout that you get every week, meaning what plays are you running out of certain looks or down and distance tendencies and all those sorts of things. What we're talking about is a little bit more in depth in terms of, you get the statistical analysis all the time, but what we're talking about is truly a scheme and personnel-driven evaluation, and that's what you have time to do on the bye week. And so taking a good look at not just grading everybody, but evaluating productivity or lack thereof at positions and schematically to see how you can kind of improve the opportunities for those guys to have success.
Curious, is there a process where you assign the coaches to give you a report on that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Yeah, so what I'm looking for from each position coach and each coordinator is a pretty short synopsis of what have we done well, what do we need to improve on, and how can we improve upon that. I mean, and that's positionally, that's each side of the ball, so that'd be schematically, and we'll spend the lion's share of today working on just that. And I get in there for some of it on both sides, to listen and watch. I do my own. I like to ask questions that I already know the answers to in general terms. So I mean, I usually do quite a bit of that work on my own too.
I'm curious. We talked offensively. What have you liked about the defense so far through 4 weeks? And one stat that sticks out to me, the defense has only allowed opponents to convert 29% of third downs. I think that's huge.
Yeah, we've been much better thus far on third down. It's been a huge point of emphasis for us on both sides of the ball. We said it heading into the fall. We're substandard on both sides of the ball on third down last year, and we've benefited from that. We've been able to get into some substitution packages when we've got them behind the chains that have been pretty effective, helped us cover, create ways to get pressure. So I've been pleased with our development there. We still got a lot of work to do. We've got some huge challenges ahead of us. We're going to have to bring some of the guys along that haven't played a whole lot, because you just know it's going to happen. Then you expect them to get in there and play at a high level. But I've been pretty pleased across the board. There's certainly other things we can improve at, but trying to eliminate the big plays with just a couple exceptions through the first 4 games, we've done a pretty good job of that.
You mentioned one of your kind of concrete things was the offensive line. What did you think of kind of the makeshift offensive line from the weekend? How they performed when you saw them on film?
Well, I mean, I like that lineup. So we'll have to see if that's the way we'll continue to go or not. But I liked those 5 guys out there in that spot. I mean, certainly there's times when they could have played better, but I'm just saying in general terms, I think that lineup in those spots warrants serious consideration. Well, he played a lot of tackle behind the scenes, you know what I mean? So it wasn't, he stayed on the same side, which certainly helps, and he's plenty athletic enough to do it. So, I thought he was pretty good.
I go to Zoom to David Teal.
Justin, there was a lot of optimism in preseason about your young receivers, and thus far, limited production. Has the transition to games just not been as smooth as you envisioned, and what do you see going forward for those guys?
They haven't been healthy. D-Loft is the only one that's been healthy the entire time. He's probably played the most. We made a concerted effort 2 weeks ago to just say we've got to get him in the game. The other guys cannot play all those snaps. Jaden's missed a bunch of time with hamstring, but he's continuing to come to develop and come along. Jalen Jones, I hope we have back. He hasn't practiced in a while. Hopefully he'll practice this week. I'm still optimistic and bullish on those guys, and I think this week will be huge for them, so that we can continue to get a comfort level with shuttling those guys in and out and alleviating a little pressure from what's really been essentially Tavion, Trey, and Caleb playing the whole season.
And then to the untrained eye the other day, some of what Richmond did rushing looked like what Wake Forest does. And you prepared for Wake last season and obviously for Richmond this past week. Were there similarities, and what are the challenges of trying to defend that that approach to a rushing game?
There were some similarities in terms of the longevity of the mesh point. Longevity, yeah, I guess longevity is the right word, but the almost a slow developing play where everything's on the line of scrimmage. It does make it a little bit difficult in terms of what you really want to do if you know you're going to see a bunch of that is find ways to turn guys loose on the edge, like let them go create havoc. And that's what we have done in some games, to kind of pressure those RPOs where there's a guy in the face and he's attacking both the quarterback and the running back, the mesh point, which makes life pretty difficult. They kind of covered the edge on us, so we didn't get to do that. It was a different run scheme. It was more of a zone scheme as opposed to a gap scheme, which makes that a little bit more difficult. But you'd like to try to find a way schematically to not just stand there on the line of scrimmage with them, I guess is what I'm saying. Like find ways to speed that up a little bit without leaving yourself open in the run game.
As you look across the league, are you surprised at all to see Wake Forest sitting there undefeated and nationally ranked?
All I've seen of Wake is about 10 snaps the other night. They played Friday night. Is that right? They played Virginia Friday night. I saw about 10 snaps at the hotel the other night, and those 10 snaps looked really good. I thought I heard the announcer say they've got a bunch of guys back. I may be wrong. I don't know. I haven't investigated it, but the little bit I've seen, they look really good on both sides of the ball.
Mike Barber.
Yeah, Justin, at this point, going into the bye, considering the way you started with the win over Carolina, considering the way other games have unfolded in the Coastal, do you still feel like this division title is right there for the taking?
Well, I would say it's pretty open. I would say both sides are pretty open right now. Between the changes that have occurred in college football in the last couple of years, a couple guys transfer and a couple guys get hurt, and all of a sudden, there's no telling what a certain team, any given team, can look like. So I think it's created a little bit of more fluctuation. It seems a little bit evident to me. And again, I haven't spent as much time watching other people play as y'all have. But, there's a team or two that are pretty elite probably, and then a bunch of other teams out there. And it seems to be in our league. On either side, it could go a whole bunch of different ways.
At this point, how would you evaluate Braxton's play, his development, and as you go into this bye week, are there things that kind of come out of the offense because he's not doing them well, and things that go into the offense because he's doing better than you anticipated?
No, I think so. I think we have to evaluate all of those things. That's part of it. That position's obviously really important, but taking an honest look and, kind of stepping back from it all and looking and seeing what you think you can expand on and what you can, is probably would be wise. So I've been proud of Braxton. He's been incredibly competitive. He has taken care of the football. He's given us chances. He's made plays. I do believe there's another level of efficiency and play that he can reach, and it's our job to help him get there. And I know it's in there. I believe it. And we've got to continue to tweak and turn things and coach and help him along so that he can be the player that he wants to be. I think, he is an older guy, but he's not as, he hasn't played as much in the last several years as maybe emotionally I felt like he had heading into the season. He played a lot as a true freshman. Then he spent a large portion of the time not playing, and and now he's got his chance, and he's doing a really good job. I just really believe in him, and I believe that we can find a way for him to continue to improve and be even more efficient and be even a better player.
Last thing for me is, as you look at the defensive line, obviously they made national headlines with that week 1 performance. How would you evaluate their play since then? Are you pleased with what you're getting, or like you said with Braxton, is there another level there?
Oh, continued improvement, I think, is got to be the mantra for us there. I mean, those are the guys that are going to play. I've been pleased. I kind of looked a little bit more at the guys that haven't played very much. Cole Nelson and Wilfred Panay, like those guys continuing to develop and help us. Cole's now getting to the point where he's in the game and you're not holding your breath. Oh my God, there's a true freshman in there at end. And Panay's learning something about playing defensive line every day. And those older guys, they're continuing to play well. And are there things they can do better and, things that we can tweak and do? Absolutely. But I keep thinking of it from the perspective of who else can we bring along to help us? And, I think before it's all said and done, those two guys are going to play roles on our team.
Thank you.
Hank? Hey, Justin. I think your affinity for media prognostications for a season is probably similar to your affinity for preseason polls. But for the last handful of years, it seems like the thought about the ACC has been Clemson and everybody else. And now they've lost twice. The two teams picked the top 2 spots, and the Coastal have lost twice. Is that good for the league that it's so wide open now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the facts are, it is going to be open. Like I said, I mean, there seems to be, the way things are now, lend itself to a little bit more fluctuation, or at least that opportunity for more fluctuation. But I think us playing good football, winning non-conference games, and that's good for our league, and we have been so in our non-conference as a league. But I see good players in this league and good schemes, good young players, and I think the future is really bright. What that means for this year, I don't know. Like I'm a little more worried about our own building than everybody else's.
You kind of highlight with your guys that Carolina was anointed as the favorite and they've lost twice, and Clemson's. Do you highlight that with your guys that in terms of making sure your preparation is on point?
Oh, I mean, I do think I talked about it for about 10 seconds in the meeting yesterday. I just said, like, it's a crazy world out there, guys. Like, just turn the TV on and watch a college football game. There's no telling what you're going to see. And what we need to do is focus on ourselves. But, you see teams that are historically really good struggle. You see teams that, Bowling Green, beat Minnesota. And it's all over the map. And, it's just what we need to do is control what we can control and worry about ourselves and our improvement and the goals that we set forth for this week, trying to get those accomplished, knowing that there's a lot of twists and turns this whole thing could take as we go down the road.
And one more, if I may, when you have a team like Notre Dame coming in off a bye week, do you alter the way you do the bye week at all to maybe focus more on the next opponent than the development of younger players?
I think each bye week in each season is different. I did not used to believe that. I mean, I used to believe that, the bye week was for getting better, the entire team better. And that was done one way, practicing. I believe that the bye week is for improvement, but there are multiple layers to that. Not everybody needs the same thing. And, some of our guys that have played a lot need less work actually this week. They need to go get refreshed because we've got 8 straight. The younger players that haven't taken as much work, they need a lot of work this week. So I think as I've gotten older, I've realized it's not one size fits all. Each bye week is different and each football team's different. We've got a bunch of guys that played a bunch of snaps, not just this year, but in years past. And so I don't know that it's the opponent as much as it is when it's this early, it's preparing us for the stretch run. The eight straight weeks of playing that we've got ahead of us. So I don't think it's we will do some work on our next opponent, regardless of who that is, whether that was Notre Dame or a league game. I'd really rather have a bye before a league game than a non-conference game. But we'll, regardless of who the opponent is, we'll do some work. But trying to get our entire team ready for the stretch run is the primary focus of this week.
Thank you.
David Guzman.
Hey, Coach, just an off-the-beaten path question for you on the bye week. How has the topic of mental health kind of evolved in recent years for you? I know Austin Cannon had his Speak Up initiative, and last year was a really trying time just to get on the field for your team and for the players. How do you guide that conversation or at least create a space for it?
Well, the mental health space is expanding. I guess for me, my what I always thought of a mental health discussion was Alzheimer's or schizophrenia or the number of diseases that are out there that are associated with mental health. It's really a lot broader than that. And I think over the last several years, more people have realized that it's about more than just depression or it enters into being fresh and refreshed and feeling good. And we have numerous outlets for our young people, quite honestly, players and staff alike, professionals in the building that are equipped to handle those things, that are equipped to handle or help our young people handle the rigors of playing Division I football, going to college, the social expectations on them, combined with dealing with a global pandemic. And having those resources, I think, is really valuable for us as coaches, because many of them we're not equipped to handle, quite honestly. And having professionals in the building is a huge advantage or a huge resource for us when it comes to doing our best to make sure our young people are in a good space.
Thank you.
One more, David Teal.
Justin, discouraging result in Morgantown a couple weeks ago aside, when you see them in turn take Oklahoma on the road to the gun, do you say, hey, that was a pretty damn good team we faced on the road and maybe a game we could have stole?
Yeah, it did not surprise me that and I haven't seen Oklahoma on offense. I just assume they're talented. They have been for the last however many years. But it did not surprise me that they didn't just move up and down the field on that defense. I'm telling you, that defensive line is really good, and they move every snap, and they're a pain. And so yeah, it doesn't surprise me. But also, you can't help but every time you think about it, start to get a little sick to your stomach. That you didn't find a way to get that one done. But didn't surprise me that they put up a great defensive performance on the road against what I assumed to be a really talented Oklahoma team. But in the same respect, it's just kind of a rough reminder of how close we were to pulling that one out.
Thanks, man.
Mike, congratulations on the game. You have a couple guys out and a coach with COVID protocol. Does that change how you have to approach other stuff kind of throughout the week in the building? And were you worried at all about kind of the larger issue? And how did that, because that was the first time you had anybody in quarantine or out with the protocol.
So did it change anything in the building? No. Was I worried about it being a bigger deal? Well, yeah. We all are. And we are doing it. We either have already done everything in terms of vaccination, or natural immunity and vaccination from guys that have already had it before. So yeah, it concerns you. Absolutely. There's no rescheduling this year either. It's a loss. So, but first and foremost, obviously, is the health and well-being of our employees and our players. But certainly, it's it's something you worry about and think about and try and make sure you're doing everything you can. I thought about not sending the coaches on the road. Was my first thought. Recruiting. We went ahead and did, but I mean, those are the things that I started to think about how we could just stay in our little cocoon and not send everybody out. And then I'm not saying that we brought it back in from the other schools, but that's the first thing that crossed my mind is maybe I should just keep them all here, but I didn't.